And it begins, chapter 4 begins, if you remember when we first started talking about Revelation, we talked about how it was split up into several different visions that John would have got at one time. This chapter 4 starts another one of those visions. The first 3 chapters are one. Chapters 4 through 8 are the second. So for the next few weeks, we'll be talking about this second part of John's vision here. Chapter 4 of Revelation starts out with this. After this, meaning after he got his first vision, his next vision comes along. I looked and behold, a door was opened in heaven. And the first voice which I heard was, as it were, of a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter. That is last part right there is a pretty good indication that what John is about to be shown is of future events. Okay, I read one commentary that says, this is all about what had already happened. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense with what he just said right there. So I kind of threw that commentary out, at least as far as this verse goes, or this section goes. But this is John gets called into heaven. Okay, this is John the apostle walked with Christ. Now is on the island. He gets called up into heaven. He hears a voice calling to him. And the voice is of Christ. Okay, we conclude that because of the trumpet that announces royalty has called, spoken here, and it usually, and including this verse, refers to Christ. So Christ looks down at John and says, "Come on up. I got some stuff to show you." John here, he gets to see some stuff that's about to happen from God's viewpoint. Now, when is it about to happen? Some people say that all the stuff has already happened or it did happen. I don't think so. I think this is all going to be future events that he's getting ready to see. But he's seeing it from God's viewpoint. Okay? Not equating him with God, but it's God's viewpoint that God is allowing John to see and to share with us. Okay? So we move on. Verses 2 and 3. And immediately I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and sardine stone. And there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto an emerald. This is symbolizing God being on the throne. 2 types of people in this day and age that John was writing sat on a throne. The kings and the judges. Meaning the ones that had the authority. The ones that had the power. They're the ones that sit on thrones. You and I, we don't sit on a throne. Well, never mind. We'll leave that joke alone. But God is the one that sits on the throne. He is the one that has the authority. He has all authority. The ultimate authority. Not just some nice looking chair, but a chair or a throne that is pure. These stones here that are compared to, he's not saying Christ is made out of, or God is made out of these stones. He's saying it's pure. It's rare. You don't see it all the time. It's something to behold when it's there. It's something that's pretty to look at. It's something that you'd like to see. Okay, now let's get into this a little bit. The Holy Spirit here, when it says there at the beginning of that verse, says, immediately I was in the Spirit. John mentions this 4 times. That's how we know he's in 4 different visions. John chapter 1, verse 10. I'm sorry. Revelation chapter 1, verse 10. Here in chapter 4, verse 2. Again in chapter 17, verse 3. And again in 21:10. Okay, 4 times he talks about being in the Spirit. That means he is getting this vision directly from God. Now, we don't know if that means he was just kind of laying over where he was and his body was there, but he was seeing things, or we don't know if his body actually left earth and went to heaven. We don't know. It very well could have been that if somebody would have came looking for John while he was in the Spirit here, that he was nowhere to be found. Okay? His body was physically gone. Okay, that's a pretty good idea. Maybe not. He may have just kind of been asleep and been seeing these things. We don't really know. But nevertheless, he was in the Spirit. He was getting this information directly from God. He's getting ready to see things that can only come from God. There's no way him or anybody else could dream up what he's about to describe to us. Human imagination does not run this wild for the most part. God's throne is mentioned 40 times in the book of Revelation. It's an interesting statistic. Again, he's comparing himself because he is on the throne, because he is the ultimate authority. He is contrasting himself in a place higher than earthly thrones, including that of Caesar at this point. See, at this point, Caesar is the most powerful person in the world. In this world. But he's saying here, by describing this beautiful sight, this beautiful throne, that God is higher than anything down here, including Caesar. Okay? The stones are great wealth, purity. The rainbow signifies how pure these stones would be. If you would take, you may have did this when you were in school in your science classes, but if you take a stone, and particularly a crystal, and hold it up to the light just right, you kind of see the rainbow comes out the other side. Because it's a pure stone. If it's not a pure stone, the rainbows don't work like that. So, he's talking about his purity and his power. Also reminds us of his promises that he has given us, that he is bound to keep. Okay? Moving on to verse 4. And round about the throne were 24 seats. And upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their heads crowns of gold. Here's where we get some opinions. Who are they? I found 3 different opinions. I'm sure there are more. But I found 3. Number 1 is in the Old Testament there were the priest system. The priestly system was split into 24 different castes or 24 different levels. So this could be kind of a heavenly symbolism of those. So that's possible. Another one I found was that it's just 24 angels. Higher up angels, if you will. This is the first I've heard of a caste system to being angels, other than the archangels and everybody else. But I guess that's possible. But the other one that I kind of lean towards, and again, come to your own conclusion or find a different opinion if you want. But the one that I kind of lean towards is that in the Old Testament we have Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then Jacob had how many sons? Anybody remember? 12 tribes of Israel, okay? So we have 12 for those. Every person that is Jewish by birth traces their family back to one of those 12, okay? And then in the New Testament, Jesus called how many disciples? 12. So if you add the 12 original, well not original, but the 12 tribes of Israel that everybody can trace their family back to,